In 1258, the Abbasid Caliphate of Baghdad was the wealthiest civilization on earth. Walls spanned miles. A library held half the world's knowledge. It took the Mongol Empire just 11 days to burn it all to the ground. For centuries, historians blamed the Mongol Bow, the composite weapon that no army could match. But that explanation falls apart the moment you look at the facts. The Huns had the same bows. The Turks had the same bows. Every steppe warrior for 1,000 years used the exact same weapon, yet none of them conquered Baghdad. The difference was not the tool, it was the strategy. Genghis Khan did something no steppe warlord had ever done. He crushed the internal rivalries of the steppe and unified the Mongol tribes into a single, ruthless hierarchy. The Mongols moved with terrifying speed, but they brought an even more terrifying weapon: fear. They didn't just slaughter armies, they slaughtered the hope that resistance was even possible. And yet, the brutal truth remains. He didn't just give them arrows, he gave them an unbreakable chain of command. But even with this perfect machine, the Mongols only won because their enemies had already shattered themselves from the inside, long before a single soldier arrived at the gate. In 1218, the Shah of Khwarazm made a fatal mistake. He killed Genghis Khan's trade ambassadors and humiliated the survivors. When the Mongols came for revenge, the Shah didn't fight. He was terrified of his own generals. Instead of uniting his massive armies, he forced his commanders to swear loyalty directly to him and scattered his troops to isolated garrisons. The Mongol strategy was simple: divide and consume. When Khwarazm's armies sat trapped behind their own walls, they effectively signed their own death warrants. Genghis did not attack the strongest points. He attacked the weakest, city by city, until the empire collapsed under the weight of its own paranoia. To make matters worse, his own mother, Turkin Khatun, held a rival court in the west, ruling her own territories independently of her son. The empire was fractured before the war even began. Genghis didn't have to break Khwarazm's army. The Shah broke it for him. 40 years later, the pattern repeated in Baghdad. Caliph al-Mustasim was more obsessed with pigeon racing and entertainment than national defense. But the crisis wasn't just his laziness. A catastrophic flood had just ripped through the city, destroying bridges and igniting deadly sectarian violence between Sunni and Shia neighborhoods. The city was already bleeding. When his own chief advisor warned him to reinforce the walls, the Caliph refused. He sat in his palace while the streets burned. When the Mongols arrived, he sent his cavalry into an open field. They were surrounded and destroyed in a single afternoon. An empire that ruled for 500 years surrendered in 11 days because the man at its center was too paralyzed to see the fire around him. But in 1260, the tide finally turned. The Mongol Great Khan, Möngke, suddenly died. The Mongol Empire was built on a strict succession law. Every prince with a claim to the throne instantly had to abandon their campaigns and go home to elect his successor. Hulagu, the Mongol leader in the Middle East, took 80% of his army and left. He left behind a skeleton garrison of just 20,000 men under a general named Kitbuka. Waiting in Egypt were two Mamluk commanders, Qutuz, the Sultan, and Baybars, a general who openly hated him. But for one single day, they set their rivalry aside. Kitbuka died fighting. For the first time in history, a full Mongol army was destroyed in open battle. The myth of Mongol invincibility shattered that day in the valley, but the myth of human unity shattered even faster. The victory at Ain Jalut did not bring peace to Cairo, it merely delayed the betrayal. Khwarazm fell because its Shah feared his own men more than the enemy. Baghdad fell because its Caliph was too distracted to defend his walls. Cairo held because two rivals chose for one afternoon to fight as one civilization instead of two. But that unity didn't last. Weeks later, on the road back to Cairo, Baybars assassinated Qutuz and took the throne. The alliance that stopped the Mongols was never permanent. It was a single fragile day of trust between two men who were already enemies. The Mongols weren't unstoppable. They were only unstoppable against an enemy that had already stopped fighting itself. Two rival generals saved the Islamic world. Then they stabbed each other in the back. So here is my question to you right now. If an invasion came tomorrow, would you and your rival set aside your hatred to survive? Or would you turn on each other to save your own skin? Tell me the truth in the comments. Are we more united than the Mamluks, or worse? Subscribe to the Crimson Standard.